when did you start at KZAP?
Actually, I spent 2 years at the college station, which was KERS. Now it's KXPR. Trying to pretend.
Was it jazz back then?
No, not at all. It was.
Or classical?
It was block programming.
Okay.
And when we got to it, that summer of '70 was the first time we convinced them to put up enough money to keep it on 24 hours a day, which was not done. And so you could pretty much do all you wanted, but anything you wanted, but most of us wanted to be like KZAP. So we would have current music shows.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I perfected some amount of ability to open the mic and just talk. I mean, we didn't use liner notes or anything. We talked about the music and we tried to be as hip as possible. Whether we were or not's another question. And that went on for a couple of years. Then there was a mass exodus at KZAP for various reasons. I got on there from '72 to '75, which was kind of the second wave. It was starting to get a little professional. Some new people bought us and wanted to make us a little more professional. We got out of a real ratty place, although interesting place, at the top of the Elks Temple, into a nice studio, started getting some equipment. Our production room at that point was an old wood-lined walk-in box with a hole cut out of it this big to let air in. Well, on a Sacramento hot day in the summer, with no ventilation and no air conditioning, we'd be stripped down to cut-offs doing production in this hot, sweaty room that smelled of rotten lettuce on consumer equipment. And there wasn't much production to do anyway, but that was our production studios. The offices were basically a hallway with little closets off to either side, and then the control room, which was maybe 12 by 12 and always trashy because we had no janitorial service. But it was a bunch of people who were real happy to be making better than minimum wage, being able to play from 10,000 albums, and if you didn't like what was in that collection, you could bring stuff from home.
Okay.
Reel-to-reel tapes of concerts and things like that.
So it was even Freeform in '72.
'72 was still pretty much Freeform. Actually, the only format consisted of a bin of new stuff, which tended to be brand new to 3 months old. And you were hired on the basis of what you knew about music. So if your tendency was to play from the same album, the same songs over and over, you probably wouldn't be working there.
Wow.
So it was
funny how times have changed.
It was encouraged to mix things up and to have the ability to move from folk to jazz to rock to country rock to blues. Know a little bit about those things, learn from the people around you, and it was, of course, they're very self-indulgent. Not everybody could keep up with that as a listener. But I think you had people then who were far deeper into music who wanted to be able to listen for long periods of time, not just for 15 minutes at a time. And that slowly changed. We also weren't bringing in much money, so it was a great thing to work there, and it was a great thing to have in the community, but commercially it was not a great thing.
So a new company came in '72?
Well, actually, the owner committed suicide. His name was Lee Gahagan. And
Lee
shortly
Gahagan.
after, he asked us to pass on our paychecks one more time, and we all said, no, we want to get paid. He killed himself. Then his aunt ran the estate for a while, so we didn't get much money or much help. They finally sold it to two people who worked in research and development at Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati, who didn't know much about radio, but were very willing to learn from us. One of their father-in-laws had a lot of money, and he bought the station. They were very willing to learn from us, and so we found ourselves in a position of teaching our new owners, which is completely opposite of what happens now. New owners come in, clean house, do it their way. They've got certain ways they want to do things. So that was kind of a golden age, because not only was it still fun to work there, but we were working for good people, and the pay scale was increasing. Then I left in '75, went to San Jose for a year, and decided I didn't really want to leave. Came back and worked at Earth Radio for 3 years. When Earth Radio came on the air in '74, it was a tight version of what KZAP was doing, but only in the rock vein, not with all the peripheral kinds of music. And it really started to kick KZAP's butt in the ratings. Then it slipped a bit because that whole staff went to KSJO, and the management didn't really know what they were doing. Typical quote, I'll never forget this. The program director one day said, "Good Vibrations, that's the Beatles, isn't it?" We had kind of a coup. 7/7/77, July 7th, is when we had gotten it together enough to sort of overthrow this guy. They put him in sales at that sister AM station, and they let us fall into the positions we wanted to fall into. I was program director, and we ended up topping KZAP again. But in 78, KZAP was sold, first time to a big company with a consultant. Their changes to the format at first were laughable, but they got it
the
tuned.
Lee Abrams Star format.
I think so, and they got it tuned in real quickly to the point where they did beat us. And the management at KSFM freaked out and said, we have to have a consultant, we have to do something. So what they chose to do in the fall of 79 was get rid of Earth Radio and play disco. We had a wall of records.
Okay.
KZAP had a wall in another room.
So thousands of albums.
10,000 albums at
Okay.
KZAP. Probably the other stations might be more like 4.
Croy was the teens, and
Right.
KZAP would be the more.
Croy was pre-teens at that
Okay.
point, because by then they'd really, as soon as KZAP hit the air in 68, Croy up until that point was getting kind of experimental. As soon as KZAP hit the air, Croy and the music in general snapped back to being the 1910 Fruit Gum Company and all that. So that's when all that stuff came out. And they really went after teens and pre-teens. Late high school, college, and older, that all shifted over to primarily rock, progressive stations. The term underground wasn't really being used anymore. It had worn itself out.
At what point did KZAP start showing up in the ratings?
Oh, I don't know. They were little blips in the late 60s, early 70s. I mean, they were there.
When was it? When did it become
A
a
force?
factor? Yeah, a factor.
74,
Okay.
75.
So KZAP, I used to have the bumper sticker of the cat, the
Mhm.
orange cat. That logo lasted a long time.
Long time.
Was it there in 72?
No. Roger Shepard was doing some art for Crabshaw Corner and for KZAP. He did some early concerts that KZAP presented and for various other promoters. And he did a coupon book for KZAP, discount coupon book, with this Cheshire Cat in it, which was pretty popular. He's a cute little guy. In 73 or 4, Gordo Styler's brother, Bill, who's an artist, took that idea and designed the sticker. So the KZAP cat was actually from Roger Shepard. The original sticker was from Bill Styler. And that took off. It was the perfect logo. There's never been another one like it. It was this friendly little guy,
Yeah.
you know, and hip looking. And it was just, along with the call letters, which I think are the best call letters in the country for a rock station, it was a great combination for image, which is why KZAP had, I mean, the image is what people are left with, obviously, now that KZAP is no longer. And even though in the last several years, with the corporate structure behind it, they were very repetitive and not breaking any new ground, people remember their days listening to KZAP because it was so, by comparison to anything else on the air, it was so comfortable. It certainly wasn't loose by structure at the end. It was very structured, but it felt comfortable.
Wasn't high energy in your face.
Same thing over and over again, and
Yeah.
even if they were playing the same thing over and again, people forget that. They remember KZAP and the fun announcers who were honest and weren't hyped up and obnoxious and any of that stuff. But the KZAP the KZAP cat went through a few different evolutions, and